Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to be among such a distinguished group of scholars and students here in Sarajevo. For your information, to be honest, since the 1990s, I'm very much related and interested in the ongoing issues in Sarajevo and around all Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's a distinct opportunity for me to address such a select group of students. You are very important for us. And we know that one of the most important factors in building a future is undoubtedly good education and training. Not only for you, but for everybody all over the world. And we wholeheartedly believe that you can create a more peaceful, more prosperous world, a better world. We are confident in our belief that you can achieve this. As for the relations between Turkey and the Bosnia and Herzegovina, no Turkey, no, never ever, never ever. Delete all of them and then we replace between the Turkey. Our countries have a special relationship based on friendship and fraternity. We have common historical and cultural values. Our cooperation and bilateral relations are strengthening in every field, including trade, education, health, and defense. These relations are developing every day, as you notice. Turkey attaches utmost importance to the stability of the whole Balkans, hence always plays a constructive role between the whole sides. And we all know the strategic importance of Bosnia and Herzegovina in the Balkans. I know this from my personal experience, proudly serving as a brigade commander here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, like all other Turkish soldiers. Bosnia and Herzegovina's unity and stability has an impact not just on its region, but also the entire world. Therefore, Bosnia and Herzegovina's stability, political unity, territorial integrity, development, its integration with the Euro-Atlantic organizations, and the establishment and the maintenance of the constructive and good neighborly relations in this region is very important for Turkey as well. That's why we are doing our best to contribute to these efforts. As you know, the Dayton Peace Accord is still functional. Turkey and our President Erdogan also made great effort and the contributions for this. Today, we witness a certain crisis due to a political blockage in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The situation must end as soon as possible. Statements calling for the breakup of the armed forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina, along with separatist statements, must also end. If all sides are willing, Turkey is ready to provide every sort of mediation as outlined by our President Erdogan. These citizens who are candidates to be the leaders of the future. A future on strong foundations, one must know the past very well. This is the first issue. With this understanding, I would like to share with you a few historical events. As you all know, our nation has a deep-rooted tradition of humanitarian values and freedoms. Fatih Sultan Mehmet's Bill of Oath, I'm sure you all know that, or its original name, Ahitname. Following the conquest of Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1463, his decree that grants wide-ranging freedom and the protection to Franciscan priests was a human rights document which preceded the United States Constitution of the 1776 by over 300 years. No ethnic or religious group in Ottoman lands experienced any difficulty in speaking their own language, practicing their own faith, preserving their cultural values, and continuing their trade activities or maintaining their lives. This is because our ancestors have seen ethnic diversity as a source of wealth. Ottoman Empire had every respect for basic human rights during those times. This made the empire a center of attraction. Thanks to this respect for basic human rights, the centuries of Ottoman rule in the Middle East, Caucasus, and in North Africa enjoyed a period of order and prosperity that would be referred to as Pax Ottomana, a period in which Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived together in peace. The fact that none of the people inhabiting Ottoman lands for almost 700 years speak Turkish now, and the fact that all of them have maintained their religion proves this. After almost 700 years of Ottoman rule, 30 new states emerged, and none of them speaks Turkish. Please note, it's very important. Dear citizens, dear young people, now I will try to give you a short, fast overview of what they are doing all day in Turkey. Today, the security environment of Turkey is going through critical developments. Under the leadership of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Turkey is pursuing a proactive policy, taking proactive steps to meet the challenges we face, believing that the world is greater than five, as also emphasized in his book entitled A Fairer World is Possible. In the first 2 decades of the 21st century, we have entered a more unstable and unpredictable global security environment than ever before. This environment presents challenges to the traditional rules-based security order. Conventional threats are accompanied by increased risks such as terrorism, extremist ideologies, failed states, frozen conflicts, mass and irregular migration, and climate change. While the risk of state-on-state conventional warfare has decreased, we are currently being challenged by new hybrid threats. War was primarily state activity in the past. Now, with more state-like actors and proxies, this distinction is increasingly becoming blurred. Taking advantage of this disorderly state of affairs, even terrorist organizations are trying to become an actor on the international scene, and unfortunately, they are sometimes considered as partners. No country, society, or individual is immune from the reach of radical and violent groups and individuals. Terrorists use social media to recruit vulnerable individuals, spread their ideologies, and even share a real-time footage of their acts to induce a shock effect for propaganda purposes. In addition to these challenges, the affecting all aspects of our lives, including defense and security. A particular area of competition is in information and strategic technologies. Nowadays, every little gadget in our pocket is producing and collecting massive amounts of data. The availability of such massive data and computing power forces us to review our traditional norms, procedures, and structures. In other words, the quantum age of computing is coming into play. This presents both risks and opportunities. In short, as the saying goes, technology remains a double-edged sword. The world has shrunk, so to speak. Europe's fate is not independent of Africa's fate. North Africa's fate is not independent of Asia's. In order to be able to confront all these challenges, we have no choice but to adapt our outlook, structures, concepts, and processes in all domains. Today, many of the crises that pose risks to global peace and stability take place in our region. In the security environment, NATO remains central to Euro-Atlantic security. And as a trusted NATO ally for 70 years, Turkey has always carried its fair share of the burden, if not more, in the face of new risks and threats. In addition to the common global challenges I mentioned before, Turkey is faced with the threat of terrorism and the collateral effects of the various regional conflicts. Let me try to address some of them, starting with the fight against terrorism. As you all may know, Turkey has fought with determination for years against terrorism in all its forms. We are conducting a relentless and resolute struggle against Daesh, or ISIS, and the PKK, PYD, YPG, as well as FETÖ, and other terrorist organizations at the same time. In Syria and Iraq, almost 5,500 of the most radical Daesh militants were neutralized by Turkey. Sadly, we lost many brave Turkish soldiers in these operations. As regards the PKK, this terrorist organization has unfortunately killed more than 40,000 of our citizens in the past 40 years. To mislead the international community, it operates under different names. The PKK, KCK, PYD, YPG, PJAK, YBS, and the YJS are all the same terrorist organization. This is the tricky side of the issues. The ringleaders of the PKK themselves say this very clearly, very openly. The Syrian crisis gave the PKK the opportunity to promote the YPG, its branch in Syria. The key issue here is this: PKK equals YPG. They share the same ideology, leadership methods, goals, and the training camp. The PKK is widely and rightfully recognized as a terrorist organization. Human drug, arms trafficking, ethnic persecution, forced migration, child recruitment by the PKK are documented by independent institutions. Regrettably and deplorably, the YPG continues to receive substantial support from some of our allies. I must underline that we have no problem with neither Kurdish people nor any other ethnicity. Our only enemy is terrorism. Our only targets are terrorists. Just as Daesh does not represent Islam, the PKK YPG does not represent the Kurds. Another active and serious threat is the Fethullah Gülen terrorist organization, also known as FETÖ. The failed coup attempt in 2016 was a test of strength for the Turkish democracy and our state. You will remember that FETÖ's disciples within the armed forces ruthlessly used lethal force against innocent civilians, killing 251 and wounding more than 2,000 of our citizens. No doubt, FETÖ poses a serious threat to Turkey and to all countries where it still has a presence. Naturally, we expect all our friends and allies to take measures against FETÖ, this terrorist organization. In conclusion, our fight continues relentlessly against terrorism in all its manifestations. Turning to Syria. I mentioned Syria in the context of our fight against terrorism. Let me now say a few words on the wider Syrian crisis. Since 2011, Turkey has emphasized that the situation would become a quagmire and suggested establishing a no-fly zone and a safe zone for irregular migrants in the north of Syria. Unfortunately, this proposal was not accepted and supported enough. The internal conflict in Syria and the resulting millions of refugees become a security issue for Turkey, the region, and also Europe. We have no conduct for operations in the north of Syria to protect our borders and the citizens, to stop irregular migration, and to establish a safe zone for displaced Syrians. Our presence in the region of Idlib has prevented a huge humanitarian tragedy and another massive influx of refugees. We have embraced millions of Syrian and Iraqi refugees regardless of their ethnicity or faith, including Yazidis, Arabs, Christians, Assyrians, and many others. Please note this. In fact, we are the largest refugee hosting country in the world, according to UN figures. Our humanitarian efforts in the area include the rebuilding of the hospitals and schools, mosques, churches, and synagogues, and rehabilitation of the infrastructure such as water, electricity, and roads, and the revitalization of agriculture issues and the trade. After humanitarian aid was provided and local governments became functional, 1.1 million displaced Syrians returned to their homes in a safe, voluntarily, and dignified manner to the areas that Turkey has cleared of terrorists, and approximately 470,000 of these returned to Idlib itself. Ultimately, we wish to see a stable, democratic, and politically united Syria as our neighbor. At the same time, we aim to protect our borders and citizens, to eliminate the threat of terrorism, to stop irregular migration, and to establish a safe zone for the displaced Syrians. In doing so, we maintain our respect for the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of all our neighbors. However, as President Erdogan has stressed, we will never allow a terrorist threat or a terror corridor to emerge on our borders. Moving to Azerbaijan. As you know, Armenia had unjustly and unlawfully occupied Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 districts, which correspond to 20% of Azerbaijani territory, for about 30 years. Azerbaijan successfully conducted a 44-day operation to liberate her territory from occupation. We are providing training, assist, and the advice, support, as well as assistance to clear mines and IEDs in order to help make the ceasefire permanent. Our support for brotherly Azerbaijan will continue. Turning to Libya. Libya, a country with which Turkey has 500 years of common culture and history. It has been almost 2 years since Haftar and his forces launched an offensive against the country's legitimate UN-recognized government in Tripoli. Please remember that at the time only Turkey responded positively to the call for assistance of the Libyan government. Our aim is to ensure the territorial integrity and political unity of Libya with the understanding that Libya belongs to Libyans, to contribute to a peaceful and stable Libya. In line with this invitation and bilateral agreements, Turkey provides training, assistance, and advice, support to the Libyan government in accordance with international law, helps clear mine and IEDs, provides health and humanitarian aid, and operates a hospital over there in Libya. Due to Turkey's support in Libya, further conflict and humanitarian tragedies were prevented, and the current political process became possible. Our legitimate military advisory support cannot be compared to foreign mercenaries. Now, briefly, Turkey to the Black Sea region of strategic importance. First, I should mention that we do not accept the illegal annexation of Crimea and support the territorial integrity of Ukraine. This is the first. We are closely monitoring the situation in Ukraine and share the concerns of our allies. There is, of course, a significant risk of escalation. Therefore, Turkey advocates a prudent and balanced approach in the Black Sea region. As a country with the longest coastline on the Black Sea, namely 2,000 kilometers, we support peace and stability in the region. Now, to say a few words on Turkey has historical ties with Afghanistan as well. And NATO decisions, Turkey worked closely with the United States allies and their partners and contributed to Afghanistan's safety, security and development for 20 years. Turkey participated in the NATO missions from the beginning in 2002. In particular, we operated Kabul International Airport for 6 years. Afghanistan's security may deeply affect our own security, and we must seek to preserve the gains made over the course of 20 years. We cannot abandon the people of Afghanistan. To the Taliban, we are community, particularly with regard to women's rights and regarding precautions to avoid any influx of refugees. In addition, we have been working together with Qatar to try to find ways to safely operate the Kabul airport at international aviation standards. Now, moving on to the Eastern Mediterranean and the Aegean Sea. The Eastern Mediterranean is in the news from time to time, as you notice. We are in favor of sharing the wealth of the region in a fair way and building a peaceful future together. Unfortunately, our Greek counterparts, in particular a few politicians, are insistent on aggressive action and rhetoric that often escalate tensions as if to undermine our positive efforts. Despite all our constructive approaches, we, unfortunately, have a range of problems with Greece. While creating the perception of an artificial threat on the one hand, Greece scrambles to make defense pacts and pursues expensive armament programs on the other. Our message to our neighbor in the line, Greece, is that Turkey is not a threat to Greece or another country. We have no aspirations of anyone's lands and rights. On the contrary, Turkey is a strong and a credible ally. Our only purpose is to ensure the safety and security of our people and country. However, we are determined and capable of protecting our rights and interests. In addition, while Turkey shoulders a heavy burden on migration, Greece continues to push back immigrants, including women and children, into the Aegean Sea with inhuman practices that are against international law. This is attracting a great deal of the press coverage. The most realistic solution for Greek politicians would be to avoid an expensive arms race, avoid an escalation of tensions, and turn instead to sincere cooperation with us. We urge our neighbor, Greece, to refrain from provocative statements and acts. By the way, some Greek academics and retired diplomats, as well as retired generals, admirals, also say that this uncompromising approach of Greece is futile. In Turkish, Despite this unlawful and unhelpful attitude of Greece, for its part, Turkey is emphasizing bilateral discussions to resolve the issues. In this context, consultative talks, NATO deconfliction procedures meetings, and confidence-building measures meeting continue. In this context, we expect the Greek side to come to Turkey for the fourth meeting. On the other hand, our expectation from third parties is to see Turkey's just, lawful, reasonable, and logical approaches, assess Greece's practices and claims in light of logic, science, and the objective criteria, and not look at the issues solely from the perspective of such things as EU solidarity. This is very common. We also expect our friends and allies to contribute positively to the dialogue between Turkey and Greece by acting in a balanced, objective, and impartial manner. Our most sincere wish is for the Turkish and Greek people to live in peace, security, stability, and prosperity. Now Cyprus. The Greek-Cypriot duo has maintained an uncompromising stance for over 50 years, ignoring the rights and interests of the Turkish Cypriots. On the issue of Cyprus, we only wish third parties to again the objective to keep an open mind, to evaluate the problems within the framework of international law, reason, and logic. And the EU and international actors to put aside strategic lightness and see the realities on the ground. It is clear that no results can be obtained from the repeated renegotiation of the tried, tested, and the unsuccessful proposals of the over half a century. We believe two independent states based on sovereign equality, living side by side and in cooperation, is now the only solution. In other words, two independent, sovereign, equal states in Cyprus. This is the best part of the issues. Dear students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. In conclusion, the Balkans in general and Bosnia and Herzegovina in particular hold a very special place in our hearts, in our minds. Turkey, with its history, values, and armed forces, is a strong country working not only for its own security, but also for the peace, prosperity, and security of friendly and brotherly countries such as Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have the responsibility to seek justice and to be the voice of conscience. Within the context of the United Nations, NATO and OSCE and bilateral agreements, we are contributing to peace and security around the world. As stated by Ibn Haldun, geography is destiny of the nations, and the Bosnia and Herzegovina is this geography's destiny. Turkey will continue to do everything in its power to support Bosnia and Herzegovina in all its efforts. Taking this opportunity, I wish to commemorate with respect those who lost their lives during the Srebrenica genocide and elsewhere. I recall with respect and rahmet the founder and the first president of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Alija Izetbegović, and the other heroes who have lost their lives for their country. I also wish to pay my respect to living heroes, such as Halil Brzina, commander of the 7th Brigade, who captured the Mount Ikman and cleared it of the snipers that had taken so many innocent lives. Contrary to this, he ordered his soldiers not to harm any innocent people and environment during the Konica operations. May Allah have mercy on the martyrs, shaheeds, and bestow good health upon the veterans, Ghazis. I express my respect and gratitude to the families of the martyrs and the veterans, Ghazis, as well. May the future be bright for Bosnia and Herzegovina and for all of you students gathered here today, because you have a vital role to play in Bosnia and Herzegovina's prosperous future in peace and harmony. Taking this opportunity, I wish you, your families, and all of Bosnia and Herzegovina a very happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year.